There are two paths laid before Tropical Storm Erin, but one thing will determine which path she takes. I've spent the morning looking over all the latest data, and I'm going to show you what I found as we begin with our tropical update. Hello, weather friends. Welcome in. Jason is my name. Cold Rain's Weather World is the show. And folks, I've been tracking weather for 40 years, and it never ever gets easier when it comes to tropical cyclones. The smallest change can make the biggest difference in terms of the eventual track and strength of the storm. They're so sensitive to things that go on in the environment. We talked about a lot of those yesterday. We're not going to rehash a lot of that. So I wanted you to know that, though, because there are some small changes that could happen in Canada that impact the storm out in the Atlantic. We're going to look at that because that is germane to the track of the storm. Now here is the storm. Look at the convection. Looks a lot better today than it did yesterday. Got a lot of deep convection firing up, but it's kind of lopsided off to the west. You see that? Got a little shear here that we're battling, and that is going to be the case for the next little bit, but over time that shear will diminish as it moves into the power zone. What is the power zone? Well, if you've been watching the show, that is a trademark here on Cold Rain's Weather World. This is the power zone. Why is it the power zone? Well, there is water temperature out here that is running in the mid to upper 80s. Rocket fuel when you start to get into the upper 80s for tropical cyclone development, plus the shear will be abating with time and dry air will not be that much of a problem. So anything that moves in here, which Erin will do, is going to power up and power up pretty quickly. There's a little lemon over here in the Bay of Campeche, and this is just going to move up into Mexico over the next couple of days, maybe South Texas, and bring some rain to northeast Mexico and southern Texas, but only a 20% chance of development. Not looking for anything there. There's Tropical Storm Erin. It has increased in intensity by 5 miles per hour over the last 24 hours from 45 to 50, and it has slowed down a little bit, now moving west at 17 miles per hour. There is your track, expected to become a hurricane by tomorrow and a major hurricane later this weekend as it moves northwest, at least in the terms of the official track here, as we get on into early next week. Now, yesterday afternoon on social media, a model run came out, and you saw a lot of posts on social media about some concern about a westward shift with Erin, and that is a possibility. And here is why that happened. Well, there are a couple of reasons why that happened. There's actually one big reason why that happened, but a couple of different models have different thoughts on that. We're going to take a look at that model. This is the European that got everybody in a tizzy yesterday. This is the 12Z run, and rightly so, because look what it does. We start out here Sunday morning north of the islands, and it moves it on to the northwest, all the way off the coast of Hatteras, gets it to a strength of 952 millibars, which is close to Category 4 strength, and then turns the corner back out into the Atlantic. All right, so that's what happened yesterday with the 12Z run. Well, the 0Z run, the latest one overnight, look what it does. It starts out in the same place, but watch this. We get on out into mid and late next week, it splits the gap between Cape Hatteras and Bermuda, just like the previous several runs had done before the scary run, okay? So why did that happen? Well, there's one feature that we're going to have to take a look at here in just a minute to determine that. Here, this is the last 4-run trend over the last 48 hours of the European model, and the biggest takeaway here is that it has slowed down considerably. It was way up here. That was what it was forecast to be, but now look where it's forecast to be for the same time period on the latest run, way back here between Hatteras and Bermuda. We don't have a track trend here really because it's bouncing all over the place, but we see that it has slowed down. What do other models say about this? Well, here's the 0Z GFS run, the run that was not the latest, but the one before that. Okay, so that was the 0Z run. Starts out in the same place as the European, and it looks a lot like the latest European run, except it's farther south. It doesn't get quite as far to the north here, but it splits the gap and takes it on out in the Atlantic. The very, very latest GFS run does the exact same thing, starts in the same place, but then northwest along the official hurricane track, as though it's read the track, and it is moving it on to the east of Bermuda, but yesterday, or the west of Bermuda, sorry. Yesterday it had it actually over Bermuda, so it's ticked west a little bit, and then it goes harmlessly out to sea and just interferes with the shipping lanes. Here's the last 8 runs of the GFS over the last 48 hours, and you can see the same trend has slowed down considerably. We still don't have much of a track trend, but it looks like mostly they split the gap between Bermuda and the point of Cape Hatteras here. So what is causing all of that? Well, we're going to look at that here. First, I want to show you the tropical models. All of the tropical models do the same thing. They recurve, except for a couple of little stragglers here that keep it on a northwesterly track. So tropical models agree with the National Hurricane Center and most of the rest of the ensemble suites as well. Here is the European ensemble. You see a lot of convergence here as we get on into Sunday north of the Antilles, but then we get a little bit of a divergence. But look what happens. They all send it to the northeast. So the European ensembles all agree, except for this one little straggler here, that it's going to curve in the Atlantic and hit nobody. And the strength is pretty significant here too. This red and pink is approaching, especially the pink is approaching hurricane or major hurricane status, and you see a lot of pinks in here, some reds too. So it's going to be a strong hurricane. Now here is the culprit, folks. I'm going to show you this. This is the latest European run. I want you to cast your eyes on this ridge here in northern Canada. You see those dark colors there? You get darker and darker as you go in. Sends these height lines. The ridge pumps up to the north, sends the height lines on a southeast trajectory, and it influences this big gyre, this big upper level low in southeast Canada to head to the southeast too, down here toward the Atlantic. What that does is it helps to break the ridge that's kind of working in across the Atlantic to the west, and then this bridge here to the east. It breaks this bridge and it allows Erin to have an escape route this way. So watch how that plays out over time. Did you get all that? Heights build in Canada, southwest flow or southeasterly flow here pushes this thing down. It sort of phases with a little piece of energy in the northern Atlantic. It creates a big highway here for Erin to just travel through. It keeps these two ridge axes separated, and Erin can take the escape route into the Atlantic safely. Now watch what happened on yesterday's run. Look at this now. This ridge is not nearly as tall. It doesn't quite go up as tall, and it sends these lines, or it keeps these height lines on a more east-southeasterly trajectory, which allows this to move a little bit more to the east instead of more to the south. And that keeps these ridge lines here, you'll see them kind of bounce back and forth, but it keeps that connected a little bit longer. It allows this western ridge, or I keep calling it, this is not the west, this is the east. It allows this eastern ridge to build in, or there's a sounding, we don't want soundings, to build in over top just enough. See how that's happened? It's kind of got it bridged here to keep this on a westerly track. This thing moves off more easterly instead of southeasterly because the ridge in Canada is a little bit more shallow. It's kind of gotten beaten down a little bit. And there's your solution, all right? That's what we've got to keep our eye on, this ridge in central Canada, as it's going to impact how this southeastern low and trough area impact the lane for Erin to move on toward the north and back eventually out to the north and east. Okay, so we've got to watch that, and over time that's exactly what happens, but it gets awfully close on yesterday's 12Z run. That solution is on the table and firmly on the table. I don't think we need to discount it yet. Most guidance continues to keep it offshore, but we're going to watch what happens today at 12Z. Just one more map to show you real quick. As this thing moves into a more favorable environment, you've got some shear. See these winds that are kind of impacting and hitting Erin here from the top. These little arrows come down. There's a little anticyclone out in front of it. Watch what happens though over time. We start to get some divergence. Instead of having wind shear directly over top of the system, now we've got winds flowing out away from it, evacuating the air. And remember, when you have a tropical cyclone, you need to have air evacuating out of the top of it. Why is that? Because convection flows up, rising air, all those thunderstorms around the center of the circulation, it's got to go somewhere. If it just stays here, it'll choke the hurricane out. So you get good evacuation, takes all of that spent energy away and allows more and more convection to fire up, and it's sort of a cycle, an engine, if you will. And that's what's going on with the tropics. And here is all of the ensemble member. Here are all of the European ensemble members in terms of the overall strength. They take this down. The mean takes it down just under 960 millibars. That's major hurricane, and a lot of them get it down here underneath that toward Category 4 threshold, because we're going to have warm ocean temperatures, and we're going to have better upper level wind shear and wind environment to help the storm strengthen. I hope that all makes sense, folks. You know, we try to make it make sense without getting too far into the weeds and boring you to death, but certainly hope it gives you some context. Those are the things to be watching over the next 48, 72 hours as we start to get a little closer to landfall. Now we've got your severe weather forecast, your weekend forecast, and we're going to start all of that, though, by giving you your weather IQ question, okay? That's coming straight ahead, and we're going to get to the rest of the forecast here in just a second. All right, today's weather IQ question is the following. What is the process by which plants release moisture into the air? Condensation, evaporation, transpiration, and precipitation. Those are your four choices. Now, we've seen this process happen over the course of the summer in the Corn Belt, particularly where it's created higher humidity values. So you know the answer to this, type it in the comment section. If you don't, wait till the end of the show. I'll tell you exactly what it is and why. But right now, we've got to look at that severe weather and weekend forecast. Yeah, we got severe weather in the forecast for guess who? Yeah, North Dakota and Minnesota, and even parts of South Dakota stretching back into the panhandle of Nebraska could see some isolated severe thunderstorms, with the biggest threat up here in northeast North Dakota and northwest Minnesota yet again. Possible tornadoes as a system works in, and there's some spin in the atmosphere up here, so see a few isolated tornadoes. Not looking for a big outbreak or anything, but certainly could see some wind. Very, very large hail could occur with some of these storms. You got some cool air aloft with height. Not looking for a big widespread event, but certainly a few severe weather reports are possible today and tomorrow back here in the same sort of areas, maybe a little bit farther south, encompassing most of South Dakota, southern Minnesota, and parts of Wisconsin as well. Not really a tornado threat, but mainly wind and hail are your primary concerns tomorrow. Here is the satellite image, and you can see a few scattered areas of rain and thunderstorms towards Sioux Falls this morning, parts of South Dakota down here towards Sioux City, and then back into the southeast. You can't really see this, but Charlotte had some rain this morning. Columbia had a little bit of rain. Augusta got some rain and thunderstorms moving through there, but clouds up and down the east coast, and then back here into the inner Mountain West and Rocky Mountains as well. Seeing a few clouds this morning. As we look through the course of the day, things we got to pay attention to. Fog burning off in Alabama. Heat advisories up here in parts of Florida, and then over here in Louisiana and surrounding areas, and up here in the Central Plains too. We're going to see heat advisory conditions for heat indexes going up over 100 degrees possible, and a large area of red flag warnings. It's been very, very dry. We're going to see some thunderstorms, low precipitation thunderstorms. Lightning could come out of those, and gusty winds gusting to 50 miles per hour as well, and just background winds generally 20 to 30 miles per hour. So it's been very dry. Don't burn anything there, and a little bit of area of flood watch. Any of these areas, we've seen bouts of flooding, folks, over the past several days. So tropical air mass, thunderstorms train over the same areas. Hard to predict exactly where that's going to set up, but keep an eye on the radar, especially in the southeast over the next couple of days. Air quality finally getting a break up here. Not even any yellows in Minnesota, man. It must be nice to walk outside up here, Wisconsin. Everybody looking good up to Maine. Back in southwest Colorado, we've got some wildfire smoke to deal with, and of course, LA is always in trouble with bad air up there. And then the stovepipe of Idaho, looking at a little bit of air quality issue. So we go through the afternoon, this afternoon. Let's roll this back. Why is it so far forward? Here we go. There we go. We got a couple of areas of showers moving around this morning in the plains and the southeast as well. Over the course of the day, we'll see some scattered thunderstorms fire up over the Four Corners region and into the southeast. Not looking at big rain event anywhere. We've got a line of thunderstorms associated with a low pressure dragging a front through. That's where we've got the biggest threat of severe weather. And again, see a few scattered thunderstorms develop up here. Not anything big, but maybe a line segment or cluster. A little bit of activity through the night in the northern plains, and then we get on out to tomorrow afternoon, and we see the same thing again. More showers up here. We've got a trough working into the Pacific Northwest. Could bring some fairly steady, moderate to even heavy rain over the north and western portions of Washington State up in toward northwest Oregon as well tomorrow afternoon. That'll push on in over the course of the night, and then things will diminish. We'll see that monsoonal flow continuing through the Four Corners region, and that Trough continues to push into the northwest to bring cooler temperatures up there as well as we get on out into the weekend, folks. Saturday afternoon, Saturday morning, we're going to see some thunderstorms potentially up over the Midwest, and those could be pretty strong, although it's not the best time of day for instability. But there's that trough pushing into the northwest, bringing rain up there. Scattered showers Saturday afternoon in the southeast, but it won't be a washout. Northeast pretty good. Central Plains and down into the Mississippi Valley and Southern Plains looking pretty good. Still some showers around the Intermountain West and the Rocky Mountains as well. That's really not the Intermountain West, but mostly the Rocky Mountains. As we get on into Saturday evening and overnight, into the overnight hours, we'll see a few scattered showers around the northern plains. And then look here, we've got a front that's pushing off. This is part of that trough that's working out of southeast Canada that's going to open the door for Erin to get out of here, hopefully. And there's that front. It extends all the way back down, so you can see a little piece of energy riding around that front from the northern plains back into the Ohio Valley, southern Great Lakes, Sunday evening in the afternoon. And a few scattered showers in the southeast, but looking good everywhere else, folks. Looking out in time, just to give you a peek down the road, big ridge as we go on out. There it is, center of the country. This is Friday. Warm temperatures up into the northeast and over the south and the central portion of the country, northern plains as well. But look what happens as we get way on out in time. There comes Erin. It goes around the horn, gets on out in the Atlantic and back into the Four Corners region, sets up another ridge center that's migrated back that way all summer long. We get on out to next Friday, and then that pattern persists, breaks down a little bit as we get way on out in time, and the ensemble sort of trend back. But there's your temperatures over the next several days. Let's look at this. We get on out into Friday. Warm temperatures over the plains, into the Great Lakes, about average out west and a little bit above average to the southeast. Not too bad, though, for this time of year. And then we go on out and we see those anomalies migrate back to the west over time as that ridge axis migrates back over there through the end of next week. This is the end of next week now. Really warm out west and cooler, or at least average here. Nation's midsection up to the northeast gets cool. And here comes another big push of cool fall-like weather, really, as we get on into the northern tier of the nation. It's going to feel fall-like, and hopefully you don't get smoke to come with it, but that's what's potentially going to happen as we get way on out in time toward the end of the 2-week period. Precipitation over that same time period, there's Erin. You can see that really nicely on the precipitation map. We'll pull this on out. You can see the footprint of the heaviest precipitation still across the north into just east of the Mississippi Valley and into the eastern portion of the country, particularly the southeast portion. As the ridge axis moves west, we get a trough response in the east, and then you get moisture flow out of the Gulf. Daily showers and thunderstorms keep us nice and wet in the east where there's drought. Don't get a lot of precipitation, unfortunately, with the exception of Puget Sound and up here in the Pacific Northwest. So that's your weekend severe and long-range forecast. Wrap things up here with the answer to today's IQ question. A quick look out in space. Space weather looking good, nothing really to show. No CMEs, no filament eruptions, no solar flares, and certainly no geomagnetic conditions as denoted by all the green bars. Now you can see all the green bars. There they are. All right, and there's the sun. There is the coronal hole turning toward us. That is coming around over the course of the weekend. It will be pointed at us. Solar wind will pick up. We could be in minor geomagnetic storm conditions as well. There is your moon phase. I don't have anything to show you on the earthquake or the volcano map, so I'm not going to show you that and waste time with it today. But nothing going on there. 68.6% waning gibbous moon, rather, going down to new moon phase on August the 23rd. Of course, the countdown to fall is on. We're under 40 days, folks. There we go. Getting close. Some of these air masses coming in that we're starting to see are helping us feel that a little bit more too. But that brings us all the way around to the end of the show and an answer to today's weather IQ question. What is the process by which plants release moisture into the air? Condensation, evaporation, transpiration, and precipitation. The answer is transpiration. Transpiration. That is the process by which plants release the moisture that they're carrying on their leaves into the air, and it helps them cool off. Okay, so that's what's going on. It also increases the moisture content in the atmosphere. Can increase heat index values. We saw that with the Corn Belt. One other thing to note in history, on this day, August the 13th in 1961, East Germany sealed the border between East and West Berlin, and this action marked the start of the Berlin Wall, which physically and ideologically divided the city for nearly 28 years. It was officially opened, and I mean broken down and open where you could go back and forth between East and West Berlin. On November the 9th, 1989, when the East German authorities unexpectedly announced that citizens could freely cross into West Berlin and West Germany. That was a good day. The formal dismantling of the wall began shortly after the official reunification of Germany that took place on October the 3rd in 1990. Okay? And there you go. There you have it. Berlin Wall. You don't know your history, you need to read up on that, folks. If we don't know history, we're doomed to repeat it. In some ways that could be good, in other ways it could be bad. But anyway, we'll get into that another time. This is the end of the show. Unfortunately, all good things come to an end, and I'm glad that you were here with me today. If there's anything at all I can pray over for you, please put it in the comments section. Let me know what's going on in your neck of the woods, and if you're ready for fall or not. I sure am. And that's it. Hope you have a great day, and we will see you back tomorrow. Take care, everybody.